Then let me introduce with honor him. Professor Dr. Dieter Daniels is and he give a lecture art history and media theory. He worked as an art historian, media theorist, author, and exhibition curator, focusing on media art or art theory or monument also, monument and art monument. And he has long given lectures on various topics at HGB. And I also learned from his class during my very first semester, and it was my favorite class. So we were very grateful that he has kindly agreed to give today's lecture.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. Yeah, I had a chance also to see at least one part of the exhibition yesterday.
Yeah.
In a very cold, large building, which was very impressive. It was your work and the work of your colleague who is in Seoul right now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole event is, it was a project you started a year ago or so, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Which was connecting Leipzig and Seoul.
Yeah.
And you do this in the exhibition, which I saw.
Yeah.
Because there is a parallel exhibition in Seoul and in Leipzig, which you can look at from both places at the other place. And we're doing this now here. So, yeah. And, okay. And as far as I understand, the title of your project is the general title is Projects Media Narrative Explorers, right?
Right.
That I understand. And then yesterday I thought it's about my talk, the title, but the talk is not that. it's your exhibition, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Can you just explain the exhibition title, maybe?
So maybe we could explain of the whole project thing, and then I could explain about the title. So our project is about how we learn to think and feel through media. So and also how media has shaped the way we see and understand the world. So three of us both are born and raised in Seoul and in South Korea, and now we based in Leipzig and Seoul. So we want to show the gap. I mean, the gap immersed across the different media environment. So we want to talk about that gap thing. So.
Yeah. Okay. And it's not so easy as to know, because often I have phone calls with Sun, who is also there today, and we always have to find the right moment in time because of the time difference where we can speak. You know, it's either on 11 in the morning or it's 3 in the afternoon, depending on winter time and summertime. So, you know, yeah, okay. Okay. So the interesting thing is that we are now here so kind of comfortable meeting in this environment, which we call video conference, which was not so usual 5 years ago, because it became very common during the pandemic because people couldn't meet in real. And since then, video meetings have been taking a big leap forward. We had to do this also in our teaching because we couldn't meet in the university. And we spent hours and hours in front of these kind of mixed screens with various faces. Some of them you met in personal life before, some you never met, which was a different experience even. I don't want to go back to this time. It was a very kind of compelling time, yes. But it has stayed with us since then. it's interesting that this kind of new possibility, which is really connecting simultaneously, like the title of your exhibition, is now an everyday thing. And without the pandemic, we still wouldn't use it so regularly. Before, I think it was really a tool that was used by big business people for large meetings who had different countries and had to decide upon certain strategic developments, or it was used in science for people who just work on the same topic, but it was not used in normal thing and not used in the art and culture context at all, I think. I never used it before we did this. We had the pandemic. And so it kind of slipped into our life from the side, so to say. We didn't kind of say we need that now, but it was imposed upon us. And we were somehow not really ready to accept it now as a new way. We had to because we were forced. But since then, at least I'm going back to normal when I can. But now for this situation with Seoul and Leipzig and you in different places, it's wonderful. And interesting is that during this time, it was even thought that this would be the new way how, for example, also politicians meet. They don't have to travel with Air Force One to meet other people with security and with a lot of energy and fuel and carbon imprint. No, they go back to normal too. They are always traveling all around the world. And this idea that this would save a little bit of wasting energy, time and money, and would also enable a different way of security. You imagine all these people being in Davos recently, how it is to be in Davos. It must be terrible. No, it's all back into real, There is no real research about this medium. It just started, and that's why I show one cover of a book. As far as I know, it's the only book that has been seriously published. Where is the book? Let me just see. The book is here. And I move it down here. This was still in preparation 1.5 years ago. And this seems to be the first, as far as I know, overview of different uses of video conferencing. And you see it's a large book and it's free. You can download it, And they start with a study during COVID, as I was expecting. And then they have this interesting, I know this very well, teaching into the void, because during the pandemic, first everybody was there, like you are here now. But then people used to turn off their camera and do that whatever they want. You never were sure how many people were really attending. You had like one screen where somebody was listening, all the rest was black. And maybe they were there, maybe not. And this was a very weird experience. This was not connected simultaneity. It was this teaching into the void exactly experience, which was not very nice, So, and maybe this is also interesting, this question of of presence, of liveness, which they discuss here, which is important for you, and how this is positioning the subject, And what I remember quite well is the Zoom fatigue. That is why we shouldn't go on too long, because if you meet in real, if you share one space and you can see each other in your whole bodily appearance, it's easy to go on for 2 hours, for 3 hours. But if you are in the same situation with the same group in front of a screen, after a while you get the Zoom fatigue. You know, like you said, oh, where are these people all? I'm sitting here, I'm talking on this screen. There is something missing still. So it's not a full equivalent. And this fatigue is that there is no interaction beyond the face and beyond the screen. You can't just stand up, shake hands, have a coffee together. You can have coffee, but not really. So something is missing, which makes you so tired that you are feeling that you are only reduced to this screen existence and not a full person, you know. And, yes, we could on going on with this book forever, but we don't. Just as an interesting aspect, this eye contact is also interesting. For example, you see me looking up always a little bit because I have two screens. I have the screen which I'm sharing, which is on my notebooks. This is here. If I look down here, you see me here. But I always look a little bit besides of you because my other screen is up here, you know. So, and it's not easy to look each other into the eyes. Also, this is maybe part of the fatigue problem. That eye contact keeps you kind of lively and direct, and when you look a little bit on the side, you feel this person isn't really looking at you, you know. And yes, so I think in the background is very funny. Like you can see, Himelian has this wonderful screen and this bottle, for example. This looks very nice. For me, it's always a little bit messy. If I would tilt this down, you could see all the mess on my desk. So there are funny kind of sidekicks which have developed out of this medium that nobody thought about before. And okay, enough for this question of what is video conferencing. Now, how do I get rid of it? I have to go to the other screen. Yes. Whoop. So we're back here, you know. Okay. So this was like the very short introduction of where we are, what we are doing. We are video conferencing. And this is connected simultaneously with all the glitches and side effects that I mentioned and that these researchers in the book are talking about. Now, to come back to your project, you are planning a very impressive publication, as I learned yesterday, 150 pages. It's incredible. It was a very small amount of money you got from our university to start the project from HGB, and now you're going on for a year and it's getting bigger and bigger. Very impressive. This is very Korean style of making a lot out of little. And you asked me to contribute a little bit to the publication. And at first I wanted just to do a little blurb, but then you got a very long text, and I'm still sorry for that. Okay, which is the title of the text you see here. Is it big enough, or shall I zoom in a little bit? You can read this? Yeah, okay, fine, yeah. The title of the text is Aesthetics and Technology of Global Synchronicity. And I did some research on this years ago. And so I said, okay, maybe you are interested in publishing the whole research, which goes way beyond contemporary art. And then you agreed, and I was quite happy. And so it will be translated into Korean. It was already in English, and has a different readership than as it was more or less lying on my computer. I once gave it as a lecture in Riga, so nobody really knew it. And I thought maybe it's the right moment now to get back to it. So I won't go into details, but it starts way back in the avant-garde of before the First World War, because there was the idea that there is simultaneously, simultaneité or simultaneité in French, in literature, in painting, and in theater. In literature, that meant that different types of writing interfere on one page, or also in Dada performances, people were speaking simultaneously. So you hadn't like one person on stage, but 5, 6, 7, and they were all talking at the same time, so it overlapped. And in painting, it was also the idea to capture moments of simultaneity in futurism, for example, where different things move in different speed, and to fix that on a canvas. And then another chapter, now that's how I move in, is more science-oriented, because to find out if it's really simultaneous, you need a new way of measurement of time. We have different time zones now in Seoul and in Leipzig, because the world is turning around. But before, you had different time zones in different parts of Germany, because different rulers at this time said, well, our time in Thüringen is now this, and in Saxonia we have a different time, it's like 1 hour ahead, and in Bavaria it's 1 hour below. It was like a more political decision of each small country what times they choose, you know. And most people, even before we had the synchronization of industrialization, before we had watches, they just lived by the sun going up and sun going down. That was their time, you know. So, and so only with more advanced measurements of time, you could distribute time. That's how they call it. In Paris, there was one very precise clock, which was the central clock for the whole synchronicity in the world. And then, which is very important, they introduced wireless technology, because wireless technology is simultaneous. You just, like for example, in radio or in Morse code, you send out a signal and it's with light speed arriving at the other part of the world. And from this clock, the time signal was distributed throughout the world. And that was around this time in 1913, that's the first time there was a synchronized time around the globe, because there was no way of synchronizing time. You know? The only way you could synchronize time was very difficult. For example, ships carried very precise chronometers on board, because they needed this synchronicity to know when they look at the stars where they are. This was before GPS. So time was not a free resource as it's today. It was very complicated machinery that kept synchronicity going. You know, just to think back about 100 years, that these things we are doing here were once very complicated technologies and had to be invented and developed by engineers and by politicians who agreed that the Paris time was the central time, and that all the rest of the world would connect with this one clock by wireless. So this is the second chapter, is more about people trying to use this technology with private radio broadcasting. This is one of my nerdy parts, because they were nerds, but they were the first maybe hackers or whatever you can call them, using radio for their own purposes. And they were also worldwidely connecting with wireless. And then the interesting thing is this wireless was a thing that was only for specialists. It didn't use spoken language or music. It used only Morse code or this time signal. And then they found out that when you have a broader capacity or a broader range of the wireless signals, you can not only have this beep, 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 but you can have spoken language and sound. And they developed better broadcasting and receiving technologies. And then a big boom started that people just wanted to listen to radio or to music. Those were not nerds, but those were normal users like we are today. You know, like when we switch on whatever, radio, television, Instagram, YouTube. And that was the beginning of modern mass media with synchronicity, because it is the first real-time mass medium where people just tune in. As I said, if you have a newspaper, it's always the news from yesterday. It's not synchronicity, you know. But here now you could do live broadcasting, for example. You could, and they did that. The very first successful broadcasts were sports events, for example. A famous boxing match where you couldn't see nothing, but you know these sport reporters who were there, and were saying, "No, he's hitting him," and "Oh, yes, yes." No. So this was the first way of having several thousand people being there live for one event where only a few hundred were really present, you know. So this is like the long history that I'm developing in this text. You can see it there. And then for the occasion of this publication, I wanted to have a Korean aspect, and I added a chapter on Paik Nam June, who is the main topic also for our meeting today, you know. And it is interesting that this will be the focus also of the rest of my talk. And it's interesting that we do this today because, as you see here, Paik Nam June left us 20 years ago. That's the day where he passed away, January 29th, 26. And today also, what time is it now in Seoul? It's in the evening now.
Yeah, evening 6:30.
Yeah. So this morning, I think there were several manifestations, and Sun agreed, our colleague, she was there to give us a short impression of what was happening in Seoul today. So we have now a synchronicity of somebody who was there in the memory of Nam June, who was a master of synchronicity and liveness in the arts. We give him honor of listening to what you saw, and you sent me just some photos, and I will now switch to these photos here. That was today in Seoul, yeah. Sun, what happened there? You can speak in Korean, and we have the translation down here.
자, 오늘은 허리에 30야, 초대 4
Kannst du ein bisschen näher an den Computer gehen? Sorry, ein bisschen näher.
순주님, 말하기 언어가 한국어로 돼 있어서 한국어로 얘기해 주셔도 괜찮고요. 독일어로 말씀하실 거면은 저희가 설정 변경할게요.
한국말로 할게요.
네.
네. 오늘은 2020년 1월 29일은 백남준 선생님이 돌아가신 90세가 되는 날입니다. 그래서 강남에는
Sorry, now it transcribes in Korean, but it doesn't translate for me.
윤주 언니 설정 한번 확인해 줄 수 있어요?
But I think everybody else speaks Korean except me. So it's fine if you do it in Korean and you tell me afterwards. I think it's fine, you know? Just go. Do it in Korean. It's fine, you know? So yeah.
No, I asked to Yunju, please change the set Korean to English or Deutsch.
Okay, good. This is new. We didn't have that during the pandemic, right? You know, this is AI now. This is mixing with video.
Do you know I paid for this function $5 more?
Ah, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, here we go. Does it work? I think you can speak now, Sun, and it works, hopefully.
It was.
Oder wenn es nicht so möglich, dann Sun, du kannst einfach auf Deutsch.
Ja.
Heute, am 29. Januar, das ist ein 20 Jahr Zeremonie und Anniversary von Protestantischen Teil. Deswegen hat heute um 11 Uhr eine großartige spirituelle Zeremonie gehabt, obwohl das 20 Jahre schon eine sehr wichtige Tag ist. Trotzdem gab es nicht so viele Leute dabei. Aber das macht ja nichts. Heute gibt es auch eine Eröffnung in Nam June Paik in Liveness. Deswegen dort ist so viele Leute dort gefallen. So, aber trotzdem es gibt heute sehr viele Beschäftigung wegen der Todestag des Andenkens. Das ist die Tempel von Bogota. Es ist eine Tafel der 20 Jahre Zeremonie. Wir haben dort einige Zeremonien und dann nach dem Gebet. Als die Innerreich ist Leben bleibt. So weiter. Es dauert nur ungefähr eine halbe Stunde und danach der Rechtschreibung und so weiter.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. And I show the photos here. Ich zeige die Fotos. Das war der Tempel hier. Und da oben steht was. What does it say in Korean, which we see here?
So ist es.
Entschuldigung?
Ja. 20 Jahre für die Nam June Paik.
Das steht da oben. Ah ja, hier ist 20. Ja, okay. Und dann haben wir hier noch eine Video-Message.
Eine Video von Ken Hakuda aus New York.
Mhm.
Als er gesehen hat, er dann mitbestimmt. Und das haben sie alles gebessert.
Ah ja. Und Ken Hakuda is the nephew of Nam June Paik. And he's very into copyrights, you know, and so if you want to do something with the work of Nam June, you have to ask Ken Hakuda. Yeah, okay, and he was there by video. Interesting. I saw this already. Sun zeigte mir das schon mal vor vielen Jahren. It seems to be in Korea very important, the remembrance of these dates. You wouldn't do this with an artist in Germany, for example, with Joseph Beuys. Nobody would do such a ceremony for Joseph Beuys. It's a very different way of memorizing culture, I think, of important personalities in Korea. I find this very, very impressive. Yeah. Was hast du gesagt? Sag nochmal gerade.
Ja, das war 1995, hat dann am Tag eine große Linie, das für Joseph Beuys das gemacht.
Ja, er hat das für Beuys gemacht. Genau, ja, genau. Aber in Deutschland würde man das nicht machen. So, ja, das wäre eine Mischung von religiösen und künstlerischen Dingen wäre in Deutschland nicht so akzeptiert. Ja, so irgendwie. Ja. Und es gibt ja auch aber es ist zum Beispiel, was für ein Ritual ist das, Sun? Das ist ein buddhistisches Ritual, oder?
Und ich habe nicht, damals das war harmonistisch.
Ah ja. Und das ist buddhistisch. Ja, okay. Denn es gibt ja, ich war ja in Seoul, es gibt ja auch sehr viele Christen in Korea. Ich glaube, in einer christlichen Kirche würde man das nicht machen, oder? Nein, so genau. Also irgendwie liegt es vielleicht an der Unterschied der Religionen, nicht nur an der Unterschied der Länder. dass es vielleicht in buddhistischer oder schamanistischer Tradition diese Idee gibt, so eine Erinnerungskultur, aber in der christlichen Idee gibt es das nicht für einen Künstler, so etwas zu machen. Das macht man für die Familie oder so, nicht für eine öffentliche Person. Ja. Sehr interessant, ja. Vielen Dank, ja, genau, ja. Ja, so haben wir für Nam June, der sozusagen die Simultanität sehr früh eingeführt hat in die Kunst, heute eine kleine Hommage in Simultanität zwischen und in Liveness zwischen Seoul und Leipzig gemacht. Sehr schön, danke. Ja, denn Paik ist der Pioneer of Connected Simultaneously. Und ich würde heute gerne über eine bestimmte Arbeit nur sprechen, von den vielen, die wir sprechen könnten in der Zeit, die wir haben. Und das ist diese, wie vielleicht auch bekannteste, in der er eine Live-Satellitensendung gemacht hat. Und hier hat zum Beispiel 2024 zum 40. Jahrestag, sorry, I switched to German in English because I spoke with Sun. So I repeat in English. I want to focus on one special event by Nam June Paik, maybe the most important one in liveness and simultaneity via television satellite at the time, because it was before the internet was working, 1984. There was no internet yet, so he used satellites, which was very expensive at the time, to make a live connection. And this is the website of the Museum of Modern Art in New York, which was set up 2024 to memorize 40 years of this event. So you see, if even the Museum of Modern Art does a special thing, it is still very much important. And here are just very short glimpses, and several people contributed a short text, including myself. And they had a little show in the Museum of Modern Art to memorize the 40 years of this event. And yes, now maybe it's your turn to show the video. And if you start around minute 6, vaguely, we get a little impression of how this whole event was happening.
Okay, I tried. Okay. I think, oops, yeah, here, and 6 minutes, I will.
This is now the Centre Pompidou, a live act, which will follow. And the first part was, as you see, a pre-produced video. So it's mixing pre-produced videos, live acts, and these two guys speaking to each other, you know. And Paik himself is not visible in the whole thing. He is in the studio mixing it all live. You know, he's like the satellite DJ, VJ, so to say, to mix all these channels. And you saw this one part where the New York moderator is speaking, and in the background, the French moderator was speaking. When you saw it in Germany, you had a German moderator again commenting it. So in each country, you had sometimes the same and sometimes different parts, because the moderator was in each country, at least those that were actively taking part, a different one. And the German moderator was not so good, I must say. and also George Plimpton was not so fresh. This was a fresh start, but it's a long broadcast. During the hour or so, he was drinking a little bit too much, and he was losing his losing his track sometimes. But Paik always said it's live, and the glitches and everything show that it's live, you know, so it has to be accepted the way it is Or he said, when too perfect, lieber Gott böse, God is angry if it's too perfect. And some of the people who saw it at the time were a little bit disappointed that it's so improvised, but it was a huge technology. You couldn't plan everything, it was not this time when like today you have large football matches which are perfectly organized, which a big staff of people. And Paik also, it was Paik's money who made that possible. There was no sponsor for this, and so I think it's an incredible effort. I saw it in Germany, and Himmelin's father saw it in Seoul, right?
Right.
And you asked him, what did he tell?
So my dad remembers that there were Korean subtitles, and maybe I think there are also commentator who explained what was happening from time to time, and also including the technical aspect of the work. So just like similar to sports broadcast. Yeah. And also actually our professor Tito Daniels and I especially curious about how common TVs were in Korean homes at the time and the number of viewers at the moment. So I asked about my dad, and my dad said the number sounds quite accurate. I mean, the 1/3 of Korean population watched that broadcast at the time. So TVs were, first imported to Korea in the late 1950s, and domestic production began in the mid to late 1960s or something. And finally, by the late 1970s, about 2/3 of all households had one TV. So it's very possible that around 1/3 of the population watched the broadcast.
Because we were wondering, also Sun and me discussed, this is a statistic that Nam June himself was publishing. It's a back flap of a book. And so you saw in the broadcast, Korea is not even mentioned when he was introducing it. He said San Francisco, New York, Paris.
Yeah.
He didn't mention Germany. He didn't mention Korea at all. He didn't mention Japan, Mexico, Brazil. So it was very Paris or US, France centered, this introduction. I don't know who told him, but it was much more people outside of France and Europe who saw it. And the largest number was the one in Korea, as you see, from the statistics. I don't know, also, it would be a research in its own, how were people counted at the time? There were different systems of counting, because today we know if somebody goes online, you have immediately you can count him, because you can count the views on a YouTube video because it's all digital. But at this time, you couldn't count if somebody was watching technically. You switch on the TV and the broadcaster doesn't know if you were watching or not, or if you switch on or not, because it's analog technology and it's just there in the air, and you had to make a complicated social system of counting and of questioning people, did you see it? So it's not easy to find out how many people really see a broadcast in this sense. It's very different than digital counting. That's why it's so easy to make money with digital media, because you can say an advertiser, so many people saw your advertisement, so you have to pay for that and that. And with television and radio, they had to make this guesses of how much it is and how much the advertisement is worth. and that when it's a very important sports event, the advertisement was very expensive, and when it was just some comedy, it was much less expensive. But all this was on guessing and on calculating. It was no precise technology of monetizing viewers as we have in the digital on Instagram, YouTube, or other media, where you can precisely digitize every viewer as a certain value. And I was discussing this with Sun, and it's interesting, your father agrees. Did he see it in a group, or did he see it at home? Did he tell about the situation where he saw it?
Yeah, my father watched it a friend's home. So at the time, my father's family doesn't have a TV,
Yeah.
but his friends have one. So it goes to the home. So, and the date is, I mean, January 1st. So, right? The broadcast date. Am I correct?
You can see here we have the different timing, you know.
All right.
Now it's January 2nd then already, because it...
Oh, sorry, Dieter. I for the showing the video, I cut your share. Can you share again? I'm so sorry.
I share again. I didn't show the whole thing. Okay. You should have told me. So this is the statistics that I was talking about. You know?
Now I see, yeah.
Okay. So you see that the moderator who was introducing, he only talked about US and France, which is not so much. In Korea, it's more than in US and France altogether, which is very interesting. And then again in Japan and in Mexico and Brazil, which he didn't mention at all, you know, and he didn't mention Korea at all. So it was a little bit US French centered, what the moderator said. Maybe he didn't get the right information, he didn't know, but at least it was a worldwide event, you know. And I can imagine the situation that you gather at a friend's home to see something. We did this in student times also when there was a very important pop concert, for example, which was also live streamed in Germany. You called it Rock Palast. And students didn't have TV, so we got a TV from a friend and we made a party during this event while it was on the screen. And then the radio would broadcast it simultaneously, so you had better sound. It was on TV and it was on radio, and the radio had good sound. So you could make a party because the TV had this normal little loudspeaker. You wouldn't make a party with this one. So this was a German invention of the 80s, where also television was a very social thing, and this was more for fun. But this, in your case of your father, it was for the reason that they didn't have a TV yet. So then it becomes more reasonable that this large amount of people really saw this live in Korea on the next day, which is interesting. That's what I was showing. It was everywhere on January 1st, but it arrived in Seoul January 2nd because of the time delay. Yeah. What did I want to say? Yeah, it's interesting that so many people saw Nam June in Seoul, because at this time he still wasn't very much shown as an artist in Korea. He left Korea in the 60s, and he only came back later in 1988 when he was preparing for the Olympics. He was invited to be an artist in residence to produce a large installation, which is still there, the more the better, in the Museum of Contemporary Art. And at this time, he didn't visit Korea since almost 20 years, and that so many people knew about him and saw him. This would be something I would like to find out more in the future. How could it happen that this relatively unknown person in Korea suddenly became a star without being there for 20 years. Yeah. And this is a point that I don't know much about, but maybe if you read Korean newspaper of the time, you will find out, or you ask the generation of your father, and they will know how.
Actually, I also asked about it, my father.
Yeah.
So he said actually Nam June Paik was already like a celebrity in Korea. So because it was very rare for a Korean artist to become famous internationally at the time. So Nam June Paik's success had a strong cultural impact. So normally, it doesn't happen like
even
that.
without that, he had a possibility to show his work in Korea at the time.
They already knew. Nam June Paik.
So it's interesting that he became famous by television, so to say, which is very adequate because he was a video and television artist. He not became famous by exhibitions or by galleries and museums, but he became first famous by television. I think that is an interesting way of coming home to your country and being seen not as an artist in an exhibition, but being seen as an artist at home on the TV screen. A very interesting process, very unusual. I know no other example in art history where somebody comes home by TV and reaches 12 million people in his home country. There were how many? I think there were about, we checked it, I don't know, like 30 million people or 25 million people. So almost every third person in Korea must have seen it, I think. The total number also includes small child and old people who so maybe even among the adults, every second people has seen it, if you don't count the ones that normally don't look TV. So a very interesting moment of connected simultaneity, as your topic is. And to dive a little bit deeper into the making of, he is a trained musician, and this is what we could call the draft, the partition, the sketches, the notebook, however you want to name. He did this in hand on paper. This is the time, between minute 15 and minute 18, 3 minutes duration. There would be the meeting of Cajun boys. This would be like the two moderators which we saw. They would be simultaneously performing. It's the idea on a split screen. And his idea was that Cage and Boyce were the most important or most influential artists in Europe and in the US, but they never performed. It happened now via satellite, performing them simultaneously. It kind of, but also this part was not so, it had many glitches. What the idea was is the same as that they are on a shared screen, and this is mixing. Here is Boyce here and Cage here. Then they switch this way around. Then he turns Cage upside down, and then he wants to make like in a mirror gallery a whole row. It wasn't so exactly in the broadcast. Some things worked, some things didn't work. But this was the original plan of interfering these two persons in kind of various images, almost like we are here on the screen now together. And this was Nam June sitting at the video mixer, having the two signals via satellite and trying to make his own version of this Voice Paik live real-time performance. Yes, and he also, I said, it was mostly his private money that he invested, and it was a very expensive event. And for funding, he made an edition of graphics, and this one is by Paik and Boyce. The upper part, I zoom in a little bit if this works. The upper part is by voice. It's not the best image, but it's a fine linear drawing by voice. And the lower part is by Cage. And this makes this virtual encounter, which was only momentary on the screen, now palpable on paper. And maybe it worked even better on paper than on the TV screen, possibly, because I think this is a very nice how their different system of lines are here on this screen, you know, and then in New York, Nam June, together with Charlotte Moorman, also made a live event, like maybe we did our parties as students. We invited guests for this pop concert, which was on radio and TV simultaneously. He invited guests to the kitchen. It was very crowded. There are other photos. This is a photographer that Sun was so kind to introduce to me, a photographer from Korea who was a friend of Paik and had the chance to do a lot of photos during Paik's lifetime. And here, when I understand right, you have the different channels of the different places where it was screened. So you could see how did it look in Paris, how did it look in New York. I think the other ones, the Korean and German and others were not there, but you had the simultaneously viewing here. And then they did some live events. I think this is a globe that they are throwing each other like being two satellites, throwing signals to each other. And it was a certainly very funny and Fluxus style performance that they did, you know, and multiple monitors. Yeah, you see here in Korean and in English the description, you know. Okay, and then they gave a little talk to explain the whole event, you know. Then there is something which is not very well known. And did I have suppressing? Let me see. No, I don't have suppress. It's not very well known that the event of Paik was not only an art event, but it was part of a larger thing happening that in 1983, which was about to end, and 1984, which was you saw this moment when they said cheers to each other, Happy New Year. So it started in 1983, the live event, and ended in 1984. So it was the very last moment of the World Communication Year, which nobody, I think, really found out. There's lots of writing also in Korea about Good Morning, Mr. Orwell. And this is never mentioned, that this was the World Communication Year, or it was the last few minutes or hours of the World Communication Year. And this was a really important event. This poster you can find in about 20 different languages, for example, if you look for it. And this is the statement it was announced by the UNESCO, the organization which Donald Trump just quit. We must work together to enable the modern communication media to contribute increasingly to the flowering of freedom and to the development of mutual understanding and respect among nations, as well as the promotion of general social projects within each nation. So this is a very general statement, but satellite television was a very important part of this idea of bringing different countries and this freedom of communication, enabling it, bringing different countries together. Satellite was the main medium before the internet. And this is why there were also stamps issued in different countries. There are about 20 stamps, which I found from African countries, from India, and there's also a stamp, as you can see. The first one is from South Korea, and the other one is from North Korea for the World Communication Year. And, and you see that satellites here are very prominently featured. The style is maybe typically for these two countries. This is a little bit more arty. Could be a drawing in the style of Paul Klee, or and this is more propaganda style here, you know. So yeah, and I found this out only because there is a press, and I still find, where is this press paper? Let me just check. I have to improvise a little moment. Yes, this is what I want to show. This is in the archive Zoom, which is the most important Fluxus archive in Stuttgart. Sun has been spending there a lot of time because they also have the bachelor, is it right? Bachelor or diploma of Nam June, which he wrote in while he was in Japan about Schönberg.
Yeah, that was bachelor.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. And it is written in Korean or in Japanese? Some
Korean.
in Korean. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they have the original manuscript, and Sun has been working on making this public. It's a real serious academic work. And they also have lots of other materials on Nam June that nobody knows about. And they have the press set because the broadcaster, who was from the American side doing the broadcast, it's WNET, and broadcasters at the time do physical press releases. They don't send out something electronically. They do a real press release where you have a which you can open up, and inside you have all the photos of those people who were taking part. You see a photo of George Orwell, a photo of Nam June, and then here it's a little bit pixelated. It's John Cage, it's David Ginsburg, it's Laurie Anderson. So these were real prints, photo prints that could be used by newspapers who want to cover the event. And the drawing for the cover is by Nam June, this connection, New York, Paris, and the satellite above, you know. And here in the press release, there is a little line saying, this is part of the World Communication Year. That's how I found out, you know, only in this press release. Nobody else, also Nam June doesn't mention this in interviews. And so archives are still important to find out such things. That there is a larger frame for this event that is not art historical frame, but more cultural, political frame, we could say, with the World Communication Year. And yes, so far, maybe for the moment now, we have like 1 hour going, and you said there are maybe questions and answers now, you know, and okay.
So if you guys maybe have some questions, then guys can. Yeah,
Hello. First of all, thank you so much for the very informative and also intuitive lecture. I was very honored to be participating in this session. I think I have a personal question. Through this lecture, I think we heard about the brief history of a very specific technology, media technology that synchronizes the whole world and provides ubiquity. Hello?
Yeah. Fine.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. And how Paik Nam June, the artist, incorporated that into his artwork, and also we could see how you, the professor, you see, I mean, your perspective. So that was very interesting, and I wanted to ask you how you personally feel about that technology that like ties the whole world, and if that feeling is different from how you feel as a professional careers person, like if those two feelings are different, how you balance in between those.
You mean how I felt in 1984 or how I feel now? Or you mean how I feel at the time when I'm professional or when I'm just consuming, or what you mean?
Right. Yes, just the latter one, please.
Aha, okay. Well, I don't do sessions like this very often, I must say, you know. So, and as I said, I switched back to meeting people in HGB in presence as soon as it was possible because of this, what I call the Zoom fatigue, you know. So it's fine. I think today it's very special and it's wonderful to do that because we're talking about what we are doing, you know. But if you use video conferencing for other purposes where it's nicer to meet in person, I prefer the personal meeting a lot. Today it's nice because we're talking about the medium and we're using the medium at the same time, you know, so we are reflecting what we're doing. But if you talk about just whatever, you know, maybe the topic, and you don't reflect the medium, it's still, that's why politicians and businessmen start traveling again, and why people are flocking together in the classrooms. It's a difference for educating, for discussing, for negotiating, if you are in presence or if you are there only on the screen. But at the same time, okay, if I switch on Instagram, I get lots of things from wherever. It depends on your algorithm, what you have. And when you train your algorithm on Korea, you can stay in Germany and get updates from Korea all the time, which is comfortable, you know, so yeah. So, but that's more the consumer aspect, and you know, yeah.
Yes. Can I actually add one more question?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I wasn't actually thinking about how you felt before, but you kind of misunderstood my question. But I now am curious if the feelings are different from then and now too.
Yeah, you're interested too. Okay. Yes. I mean, today this is more or less your choice how global your mindset is, you know. I think generation of my parents, for example, was not very interested. I mean, they watched normal German television. They got the news when something important was happening wherever on the planet, but they wouldn't switch into channels from other countries, for example, to watch Instagram Korean style. And so I would compare the experience of 1984 with those of the generation of my parents. You know, it was a very special and unusual event, which you would have for real sports, large sports, Olympics, for example, would have this live broadcast, or Nam June as an artist. But it was a very kind of remember, like your father remembers it, you know, if he would do every day like international satellite watching, which he didn't do, he wouldn't remember this special moment. So it was an unusual experience, and today it's very usual and it's your choice, but at that time it wasn't your choice, you know. Either it was you captured this specific moment or you missed it, you know. There was no recording, nothing. It was all live and you had to be there, glued to the TV set, or it was gone, you know. So, and today you can come and go every time you want and see what's up in Korea on your social media accounts. And it's not, you have much more possibilities to define your own scale of reception and your time of reception. And yeah. At the same time, the danger is that you are in a bubble somehow, and this broadcast was the same for everyone. It was not a bubble, you know. You couldn't build a bubble. You know, what was there, and these many millions people saw more or less the same thing, and you were not directed to an algorithm who might bring you into a problematic political direction without that you really can. You don't know what the algorithm does. You know, he does it for you, and suddenly you only get right-wing posts, and then you are caught by the bubble. You know, that didn't happen in broadcasting. So it was broadcasting is really more democratic in a certain way. You know? But you couldn't respond. Now you can respond. You can comment. You can like. You can share. Sometimes it's be aware of what you're sharing. People might look at what you're sharing and might not let you enter the US anymore because you shared something they don't want you to share, you know. So that couldn't happen with television. You were just watching and nobody knew what you were watching. You were much more anonymous at the time, you know. So
Yes, thank you very much. That's actually some of the fear that I have with all these technologies available.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I don't feel alone anymore. So thank you very much.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, we have a Paik specialist from Daegu. Hello. We're very happy to see you too, Won Yun. Hi. Yes. And I mean, you're a mid-generation between the younger people and between the generation. Sun and me, we're always almost the same age. You're between maybe these younger Korean colleagues and between Sun and me. So you had a different experience again of these developments. Do you want to say just one word about it?
Yes. Is it right, Peter?
Yeah, I hear you. It's fine. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Okay. Yes, as a middle generation of the both sides, I'm sorry, I can't actually say a lot about Paik's live casting show because I was a child at then. But just let me ask you one question. It's occurs me just before. Was there any possibility, or do you think there are so many? You said there are so many German saw the live casting of Good Morning, Mr. Orwell at 1984, and was there anyone in East Germany then?
That is a good question. Yeah. I don't have an answer, but it would be interesting to find out. The point is that the reunification of Germany in 1990 was, in fact, relatively late in the physical border. It was happening before because all of East German people were watching West German television.
Mm-hmm.
And so they knew that it was very different in the other part of the country. So there is a big chance that somebody has seen that. Mm-hmm. So I'm absolutely sure that some people have seen it, you know. But I think Paik, again, in East Germany was very unknown. I would say. And I don't know if it was kind of promoted in the art scene that people would really look at that. That is something I could ask some of the friends of my age if they knew about it. And the other problem was it was illegal a long time to watch. You had to do that secretly. You weren't really taken to court, but it was not allowed, you know. So you had to have a little antenna outside of your window that nobody saw to watch West German television, you know. But it's an interesting thing. I will ask some of my friends if they knew about it. They always had certain things they surely saw. They saw all the political broadcasts and some comedy and some crime, but they had no written account of what was programming. So maybe they didn't know that this would be interesting, because the West German newspaper was not distributed in East Germany. So they had to switch in to see what's on, more or less. And they know 8 o'clock it's Tagesschau, and afterwards we have Tatort or something like that. So they had fixed points of entry, but maybe they just missed it because they didn't know that this was something important. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but interesting question, very interesting question, and I will try to find out, you know, if I find somebody.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it is. I mean, we have these two separated countries, Korea and formerly Germany. So this is an interesting question, I think, in both ways. Also, is it a way to see North Korean TV in South Korea and vice versa, South Korean TV in North Korea? No, it's blocked, or what is it?
No, actually, it's verboten, as I know.
It's in North Korea. It's not permitted.
Yeah.
Verboten. But
Also
in
South Korea, it's not permitted.
It's not permitted in both ways, you mean? Or? But you could watch North Korean TV in South Korea, could you?
Yeah, but not North Korea.
Not North Korea. So
Yeah.
it's the same as I see. Yeah, because
But
also,
I heard is very viral the K media, the K drama or K-pop. So I heard it's also popular illegally in North Korea also. So,
yeah. I'm sure they're illegally watching. I think so. Yeah, if it's not really dangerous. But it's interesting to have a comparison of these two separated countries, which are bridged over by their live television watching, you know, possibilities. Yeah, and still, it's interesting also that television leaves no traces. If somebody in North Korea, even if it's not allowed, if he has in his basement a little TV set, he leaves no trace. If he would go online, you would immediately find a trace that he was watching. So it's still an interesting medium to open possibilities of non-surveilled watching. You know? And and you're sure that it's forbidden in North Korea? But what do they do if they find out that you watch South Korean television? They take you to court, or they put you in jail, or they charge you a fine, or what do they do?
yeah, I heard it's really dangerous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really
put to the jail. Really.
Yeah, really. Okay, yeah, like in nationalist socialism in Germany, it was not allowed to listen to BBC radio, for example. You would been put to jail, and also people were listening if the neighbor was doing something illegal, and they would go to police and say he was listening BBC, you know, and yeah. And to answer again to Won Jun, East Germany tried very hard to get West German viewers. They wanted to use it as propaganda for socialism. There was one famous broadcast called The Black Channel, der Schwarze Kanal, which was a compilation. It was almost like Nam Jun's work, a compilation of different video excerpts from West German broadcasts, which were, like in Trump's style, a little bit turned around in their meaning, because they were just edited in a way to change their sense. And then there was this East German commentator who said, this is how capitalism is, and this is how bad it is, how you really see and he was using West German TV to put it against himself in this kind of style that now the Trump style. You only show what you want, and you turn the meaning of a part of video around against itself, and you don't show the real evidence. So it was a medium of both sides, but I think not very many people in West Germany really looked at the Schwarze Kanal, while the larger part of the population of East Germany really knew how West Germany was. And then there was, I think, the shock of 1990. We're getting away from Nam June now, but it's an interesting question, that they could first time visit the country, which they only knew from television before. And the reality wasn't as convincing as it looked on television. Because also in West Germany, there were poor people, and there were rundown areas, and there was people who had no work, and there was pollution, and all this that wasn't visible on TV. And I can tell you one little episode, and then maybe we're done. I was in Leipzig for the first time by coincidence when exactly during the week that the wall fell. It's too complicated to explain. I was curator of an exhibition which has nothing to do with politics really, but I was here, and then a lady who worked for a gallery said, well, you're driving back now, can I join you? I never was in the West, now I can go. I said, it's fine, I was there with my car. So we went to Bonn, where I was living at the time. And I had a larger apartment because my friend wasn't there and she could stay some days in Bonn. And when we arrived, she said, you never imagined how difficult it is to find a parking place. Because in East Germany, there were few cars and a lot of place, and you could park anywhere when you arrived here. You just left your car on Augustusplatz, in front of the opera, you could leave your car, And in Bonn, in my area, I was driving around for 15 minutes to find a parking place. So you see, she knew everything about West Germany. She knew lots of political details, but it's never shown that people are looking for a parking place on TV. So there are parts which are not visible if you only look at a country through this channel, and which are not the nicer parts normally, like it's not the worst thing to look 15 minutes for a parking place, but it shows that it's a very selective way of looking at this other country, only the good sides were shown. And this was, I think, a larger part of the disappointment with the reunification in East Germany, which is ongoing still now with this strong right-wing vote, that it wasn't the golden West that was promised by television. Yeah. So we're getting somewhere else now, but I think it has to do with being in Leipzig also, and me as a Western arriving here now since 30 years. Yeah. And what will happen when the reunification is up in Korea? But I think we still wait for a while. It's not so urgent now, So. Yes, thank you for this interesting question. Sparks a lot of other ideas. Yeah.
And I also have a simple question, which is directly related to our exhibition.
Yeah, sure.
When an artwork exists simultaneously in two different cities and two different physical space, just as our exhibition, then should it be understood as one single work, or rather as multiple temporal versions shaped by different conditions of time and space or something? Yeah.
I think there is no general answer to that. It depends a little bit on your intention as an artist and how you do it, I mean, the idea of the single original is more one of the visual arts. But think about cinema. I mean, the same movies are shown all over the place in different cinemas or on Netflix or on different platforms. So they exist in various kind of formats. So when you do a media-based work, it's more, I think, your decision if you make it one or if you make it two. It's how you do it in your specific way. There's no general rule for that, I think.
Yeah.
Was that an answer?
Then can I ask a question or so?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a short question. So I read already the text you given for our book, and you talk and told about our history about so liveness or streaming. So so I'm curious, how do you think about future streaming technology or imagine on, and how, and can you imagine how artists use such a future streaming technology or something?
Interesting question. I'm not so much a specialist, I must say. It seems to me that there was, like with video conferencing, a certain peak of live streaming. We're talking about live streaming, of making performances, music, theater, not only for those who were there in the theater or in the concert hall, but streaming it. This was a very interesting approach for me, but I think it didn't really continue as strong as it started at the time, because now streaming is more like you listen to Spotify, but this is like only digital streaming. It's not live, it's a big difference, I think. And so about the future of streaming, maybe the problem was that these live streamings also didn't really make a commercial model. Because it's just once and you had to collect money at this moment from the visitors, or it was for free because it was sponsored anyway. But this Spotify streaming, it goes on 24 hours and it always generates money all the time because people just pay for it while they're watching, or they have to get through the advertisements. So maybe the problem of this live streaming was that it didn't have an economic and also a cultural framing yet. Maybe it will be realized one day. We'll see.
Thank you. It's really good and new approach to me.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. I mean, we're 1.5 hours now. I think if that's fine. Yeah.